What's going on, everybody? I got a friend here with me today, the Black Doctor himself with the definite article. What's up, my brother?
I'm doing well, brother. How about you, man?
I'm good, man. So I got a dilemma here. I got a dilemma. A problem was brought to me about John chapter 1, verse 1 in the New World Translation in the
Hmm.
Jehovah's Witness Bible. So I wanted to break this down today and just end this once and for all, just for people to be edified on how to deal with this. They'll come to your door, they'll bring their New World Translation, their little gray Bible, and in their Bible, it'll read this in John chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the
Hmm.
Word was with God,
Hmm.
and the Word was a God. Now, clearly, all in all our Bibles, it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." So that's a here. They use this as an argument to go against the deity of Christ, to say that he's a lesser God than the Father, not the same God as the Father, not one with the Father in essence, but a lesser God. A lesser deity, you will say. So I wanted to do a video today breaking this down and showing how that is a corruption of the text and how they are distorting it for their own means. How can we answer this and show that it's not a God, but actually the word was God?
Yeah, that's an easy thing to do, really, because all you need to do is to understand a little bit of Greek, a little bit of Greek. Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses will say, well, this is the only way that we can properly understand the Greek, because if you look at it, if you look at the Greek language, the word God there doesn't have the definite article. So
Mhm.
we'll pull up the Greek text to figure out what their argument is fully, to so that we can fully see it, and then we'll break it down so that
Yeah.
we can digest it. So here, what we have here on this first part is the Greek language of the text. This is John 1:1. So
Mhm.
here in John 1:1 it says, "In arche ein halagos." In the beginning was the word. Kai halagos ein proston theon, which is, and the word was with God. And then you have kai theos ein halagos, and the word was God. So what are we talking about in relation to this entire point? We're looking at this last phrase, kai theos ein halagos, and the word was
Mhm.
God. Their interpretation, the Jehovah's Witnesses say, and the word was a God. And the
Mhm.
reason why they argue this is because the word theos here, it doesn't have what we call a definite article. A definite article. And the reason why is really interesting. So as we see here in the rest of like John 1:1, all of these other words, halagos, ton theon, and halagos here, they all have what we call the definite article. It's where
And
we
the
would
definite
put it.
article would be like the, right?
Yes, exactly. They
The.
would say the word, the God, things like that.
Mhm.
And so they would
Mhm.
argue that since this word doesn't have the definite article, instead of putting the there, you would have a God. So
Mhm.
it's not necessarily designating that it is the true God.
Right,
However,
right,
they're
right.
not understanding the syntax of how Greek works. So before we even get there, let's focus on the rest of what John 1 says in John 1:1. Do you want to
Yeah.
do that, Avery? Yeah.
Hey, let's
So
do it.
let's break this down. John chapter 1 verse 1a. In arche ein halagos. So let's look at the first two words, in arche, in the beginning.
Mhm.
What does this remind you of, Avery?
Genesis.
Exactly. He's
Mhm.
referring exactly to Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In the beginning was the Word. So he uses a
Mhm.
particular form here of the word was. He uses the term ain, which is the imperfect, the past form of I me, to be or to exist. So what it's saying
Mhm.
is it's describing an action that is in the past, but is still going on. It's still going on. So what John
Interesting.
is saying is that as far as you can place the beginning, as far as you can place the beginning, the word already was in existence and is continuing to exist.
That's good. That's good.
We also
Wow.
see in John 1:1b, Kai halagos ein proston theon. So it says, and the word was with God. The term pros, it means with, or it's the preposition guard, the genitive. So it's face to face with. It's for the sake of. He is near. He is beside. So what John is saying is that this word is not only eternal, but he is beside someone else who is called God.
Right.
So this person has to be eternal, and he also has to exist beside someone else. So when we look before eternity, before creation, we don't see just one person, we see two persons.
Yes.
Then we see the nature of this person. Kai theos and halagos. And this is where we get to the main point. How do we understand this? Greek scholars, those who know the Greek syntax, note that this phrase falls under the rule known as Caldwell's rule. Now, Avery, do you know what Caldwell's rule is?
I ain't got no idea, man. Break it down.
Shoo. Okay, I'll tell you. So what happens in Caldwell's rule is that when it comes to these phrases, you have within it a noun or a pronoun that is an anarthrous preverbal predicate nominative. So what in the world is an anarthrous preverbal predicate nominative? Let's walk through that. The word anarthrous means that it doesn't have the definite article. We've already seen that. Right. It is preverbal. That means that it is before the verb ein. I mean, we can see that in the text. It comes before the word ein. But it is also the predicate nominative. A predicate nominative means that when it is translated, instead of being before the verb, it is translated after the verb. It's the predicate. So what we actually see here with this rule, mainly what it's doing, it is describing the nature of the subject.
Okay.
So let me give you a comparison to this. Let's go to 1 John chapter 4, beginning at verse 8. And we'll look at the comparison here. So the phrase says, anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love. So here we have sort of the same construct. Halti hatheos agape estin, because the God love is. So here we have agape. This doesn't have the definite article, does it?
No, it doesn't.
But it comes before the verb, and when translated, it goes after the verb. So what you're doing is you're understanding that love here, agape, is describing the nature of hatheos here. It's describing the nature of God. So it's not saying that everything that we can define as love is God. That would be if we actually had the definite article here. But when it's describing that what is true love is found in God. God properly defines true love. And so as we go back to John chapter 1, verse 1, the same sort of construction is used there. So what we see is not a description of Jesus being called a God, but literally it's describing the nature of God himself, that he is of the same nature as God the Father. He is true God.
That's a good breakdown. Doctor, you doctoring. You doctoring right now. You're in the surgery room.
Some surgery on this. We got to do some surgery on this.
So the structure of this phrase is giving you the description of the nature of the word.
Yes.
It's telling you what the word is by nature, by his essence. Wow.
Yep.
That's
exactly.
a good breakdown.
Let me also point out something here, because the Jehovah's Witnesses, they try to use this rule that if the definite article isn't there, you add the word a to it. That's their consistent argument.
Yeah, that's our argument.
However, that would make absolute mincemeat of John 1. Absolute mincemeat. Let me explain how. We'll just go through one verse. For example, John chapter 1, verse 6. Now, if we're looking here, egeneto anthropos apostelos para theou onoma auto Ioannis. So, and none of these words have the definite article with them.
Mm-hmm.
None of these names or none of these pronouns have the definite article with it. But if we used their rule to say that if there isn't a definite article, then you add the word a to it for a noun or a pronoun or an adjective, you would say there was a man sent from a God whose a name was a John.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
No. And they would, the Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't translate it that way, would it?
Wow. That's
so
tough.
if they're consistent, then they've got to make mincemeat out of John 1:6. But of course they know that it wouldn't. The only reason they make this argument is because they know that this text proves the deity of Christ and their theology cannot handle it.
Emotional damage.
That's tough. That's
I
tough.
forgot you added that. Oh my goodness.
That's tough, BD. Wow. So we literally have in the same chapter, verse 6, if we use their rule, they would have to say that a God sent John.
Yep.
John was sent by a God.
Not the true God, a false God.
Not the true God, a God. Wow, that's excellent, because there's no definite article before that's theon, right?
Yeah, theou, yeah.
Or theou.
Theou.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's a question that was also asked about this, about theos versus theon, ton theon versus ho theos. Now, they try to argue that the Father isn't identified as theos, but theos is the general term for any type of lower deity, lower ruler, or whatever. And so but only the Father is theon. So is there a reason why this is? Does theon and theos determine if it's really true God and not true God, or how does that work?
No, not at all. I mean, the term theos is just simply the term for God. I mean, a simple knowledge of the text will help you. A simple knowledge of Greek grammar will help you. Because theon, the word theon, is simply the accusative case of the same term theos. So the accusative case means that it is the direct object. The only difference between theos and theon is whether or not the object that you believe is God or is designating as theos is the direct object, if it's being addressed as the object that a verb is acting upon. There is no grammatical distinction between theos and theon aside from that. It's not describing the ontology of something. It's not. So, and we see here in relation to verse 6 with theou. Theou is simply the genitive form, meaning that he is the one sending, or it's belonging to theos. That's simply it. So there is no grammatical distinction between the two. They're pulling that out of nowhere. I think the only other person who tries to make that argument is Origen, and I'm not even sure if he holds that wholeheartedly.
Wow. Well, this is really good. Now, this is something also that I just wanted to touch on. If we were to go with their understanding, right? If we were to say, okay, that Jesus in John 1:1, if you could scroll up to John 1, is a God. If Jesus is a God, according to them, well, the verse is saying then that actually, you know what? Let's actually use let's use their book. If it says that Jesus is the word is a God, this one was in the beginning with God, all things came into existence through him, and apart from him, not even one thing came into existence. So there's a problem here. If it's a God, then they're saying that there's a God other than Jehovah who is eternal and who pre-existed all things, who has always existed and who is self-sustaining. You have two gods now in the Jehovah's Witness theology, two legit gods. So Jesus is eternal, never come into existence, is the cause for everything that has come into existence. But hold on a second. If they're saying that Jesus is created by the Father, that he's created by Jehovah, it says all things that came into existence through him, through Jesus. That would mean that Jesus was used to bring Jesus into existence. Jehovah used Jesus to bring Jesus into existence. This is the problem with their theology.
That dog won't hunt.
That dog won't hunt. So it's either the Word is one in essence with the Father, the same God who existed before all things, who is self-sustaining, or you have two gods who are self-sustaining, who also created all things. And that's the problem with Jehovah's Witness theology. So that's how you break this down. It works against them grammatically, and it works against them theologically. They have no answer for this at all. Well, with that being said, Black Doctor, man, I want to appreciate you. Thank you for breaking this down, man. That surgery was nice. You cooked it. Guys, please subscribe to Black Doctor, his YouTube channel. Follow him on TikTok. He's live on TikTok. We're the Cook Squad. We be doing our thing. So we do this all the time. Black Doctor does this stuff all the time. I hope this helps you guys. Make sure you take notes. Please like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're growing. Hit the like button. Help it hit the algorithm. We'll see you guys on the next time when we're answering Jehovah's Witnesses. Peace.